I'd like to welcome you to our Research and Entrepreneurial Development Immersion. This is a brand new program, and we're excited to get into some of the details with you so that you can be successful. Today, we'll do a REDI overview, and we'll have our moderated Q&A. And just a reminder that you do have that Q&A feature that you can use. We will also be sharing several links that we are talking through in chat. So feel free to have the chat window open so that you can see some of those resources that we're providing to you, and we will make these slides available to you. With that, I'd like to welcome our esteemed speaker, Dr. Saroj Regmi. He is the Program Officer at the Office of Small Business Research at the National Institute on Aging at NIH, and I will be your moderator, Monique Laroque.
Thank you, Monique, for the introduction. I'm very excited to talk about these series of funding opportunities under the REDI umbrella. So this chart from ASCB and Compass shows the trajectory of US biology PhD students. And it's quite clear, these days that the majority of PhDs do not become tenure track faculty. In fact, only 15% get tenure track position within 6 years post PhD. But then the current academic training at the PhD level, as well as at the postdoc level, does not reflect this fact. So it is important to understand that right now, a faculty position, a faculty job, is an alternative career path. It is not the path of the majority. And this has been recognized by the NIH. The NIH Biomedical Research Workforce Working Group that was led by the former Princeton president, Dr. Shirley Tilghman, and former NIH Deputy Director for Extramural Research, Dr. Sally Rocky, they made a number of recommendations to bring the training program in line with this reality. Among them were, number one, better aligned training. So align training with the current job market. Number two is supplement training grants. So create programs to supplement training grants and provide additional training opportunities. And finally, number three, leverage the SBIR Sdtr programs. Basically encourage SBIR Sdtr awardees to provide entrepreneurial internships to trainees. So in line with this, various programs have been established both within the NIH as well as outside the NIH. Within the NIH, some ones of note are the SHIFT program. This was a program that allowed early career scientists to work at startups as PIs, so they got funding opportunities to do so. While this program was discontinued, we found the program to be quite useful, and we also found that this was quite helpful in promoting entrepreneurship. Given the relative success of SHIFT, we at the NIA were thinking about a need of the trainees to better understand, what kind of training program would suit the current market. So we conducted a lot of interviews and learned from various programs and institutions about entrepreneurship-focused programs. Based on these programs, we piloted a program within the NIA, the National Institute on Aging, for postdoctoral fellows at the NIA. And we felt that we learned enough to offer a program based on all the things we learned over the years to fellows outside of the NIH. And basically, based on our research and our program, we wanted to understand what makes a good program. And so, we learned three major things. First, that immersive experiences, internships are very useful. Learning by doing is great. So being exposed to internships and workshops are really useful for our trainees. Second is that trainees at different stages have different needs. So graduate students versus senior postdocs obviously have different needs. And so the program needs to be able to cater to trainees at varying stages of their career. Finally, as my earlier slide showed, there are a lot of training opportunities, a lot of career opportunities, available. And so that also means there are a lot of career choices, and a wide training program is required so that trainees don't feel like they're pigeonholed into one career. So to summarize everything we learned was that, one size doesn't fit all. So one program would not be sufficient. And so that's when we decided to come up with a REDI umbrella. We call this an umbrella because it is a collection of programs. And this is called Research and Entrepreneurial Development Immersion. And I want to note here that, our definition of entrepreneurship is very broad. So it does not only have to be, startup focused. We encourage that, but for our trainees, we also encourage you to consider wide-ranging career options and training programs within the realms of IP, regulatory affairs, consulting, drug discovery, startups, et cetera, to name a few. So there are 4 funding opportunities and 3 programs. So the first one is a Mentored Entrepreneurial Career Development Award, a KO1 for the aficionados out there that are very familiar with NIA funding lingo. So this is an individual training award. You get $90,000 a year in salary and $50,000 a year in program-related support. This can be for up to 5 years. The second is an Entrepreneurship Enhancement Award, R25. This one is for educational institutions as well as accelerators. And this provides $150,000 per year in direct costs for up to 5 years. And finally, the last 2 are SBIR, Sdtr programs. So this is an award for small businesses to hire early career scientists as principal investigators or program directors so that they can get their feet wet and learn about entrepreneurship by engaging themselves in research at a small business. So there are 2 different mechanisms we've utilized, the SBIR as well as the Sdtr. For a phase 1, that is $400,000. For a fast track, the award can be up to $2 million. So I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes going in detail about each of these programs in a little bit more detail. Let's talk about the KO1. So the purpose of the REDI KO1 is to provide protected time, and of course, between 3 to 5 years for a supervised career development experience. We're not allowing clinical trials. And like I alluded to earlier, the definition of entrepreneurship is quite broad. And so, they can engage in entrepreneurship related activity while they can continue their academic research. The requirement, of course, is that, the research has to be in a field that is relevant to the mission of NIA. So it has to be, something pertaining to aging as well as Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. In terms of prerequisites, it requires 2 mentors, a research mentor who could be a research leader with scientific expertise, and an entrepreneurial mentor who could be the head of a small business, an accelerator, a tech transfer office, etc. And we really encourage the applicants to spend time with the startup, local biotech company, foundation, life science investment firm, or any other relevant organization. We really encourage immersive experiences. And we also think SBR, Sdtr grant writing can be considered as part of a training. So, they could be engaged in a thing like that. In terms of funding, $90,000 is the salary, $50,000 for support. And like I said earlier, this could be, for courses, internships with a startup, internships with an investment firm. And to be eligible, basically you have to be a postdoc with 2 years, at least 2 years of postdoctoral research under your belt. And you should not have received a major grant from NIH. So what I mean by that is, you should not have received a prior R01, a PO1, P50, or any other, KO1, KO7, K8, 22, 23, 25, 76, and K99 R00. Of course, you have to be a citizen or a non-citizen national of the US. And we particularly encourage application from individuals with underrepresented racial and ethnic backgrounds, as well as disabilities. So like I mentioned earlier, this award is for 3 to 5 years, and the deadline is 29th of September. In terms of the review criteria, there are 5. So first is the candidate, whether the candidate has the potential, prior training and commitment to entrepreneurial training. Career development plan is required. So we want to know whether it's well thought out, appropriate, and whether this will lead to success. A research plan, this will be akin to any other research plan that one would write. So this would be judged on scientific merit as well as relevance to the mission of NIA. Mentors, so like I said, there would be 2 mentors. So we'll be looking at whether these 2 mentors are appropriate or not. And finally, the environment. So, whether the environment is conducive to the training and whether the research facilities are available. Moving on to the R25. So the purpose here is to promote entrepreneurial education programs in order to broaden the skill set of graduate students as well as postdocs. In terms of requisites, courses and immersive experiences in broad areas, are useful. And I've tried to highlight some of these areas that we've thought about. So I don't want to go read them all out, but we've kept the meaning of entrepreneurship quite broad, as I alluded to earlier. And so, in this case, for the R25, it's important to note that diversity recruitment plan is required. We're very interested in getting a diverse pool of candidates taking advantage of the R25 award. The eligibility is rather broad for R25. Educational institutions, nonprofits, for-profits, or even state governments. And what we particularly encourage is partnering with pre-existing NIH-funded resources that have been highlighted on the slide there. And we also anticipate that the K01 awardees will utilize the R25 funded programs, so that that should be available to them as well. So as I said before, for the R25, the 4 foci are research experiences, courses for skills development, mentoring activities, and curriculum or methods development. In case of this particular R25, the emphasis is on courses for skills development. And we're also open to, having some sort of a shadowing component followed by the course. We're very interested in broadening and expanding the training pipeline. So, while the R25 is primarily designed for graduate students and postdocs, we're very open to have undergrads participate as well. And for the case of R25, we do anticipate collaboration between universities and their departments, or universities and accelerators, local organizations, for this particular announcement. Like I said, this is again a 5-year award, $150,000 direct costs annually, and letter of intent is due on September 4th. In terms of the review criteria, there's 5. The significance, whether the program provide opportunities to mentees for a career in entrepreneurship. This is very different from a normal R25, given that the focus here is entrepreneurship. And investigator, whether the personnel expertise increases participants' entrepreneurial skill set. Innovation, whether the program is innovative and whether it reaches the target audience. And we also want to know about the approach, whether the program clearly states its goals, whether there are evaluation plans that are appropriate, and whether these goals are met. And finally, the environment, whether the scientific and educational environment of the program will contribute to the goals that have been highlighted. Finally, the REDI SBIR Sdtr award. So this is very similar, in terms of the application process to the normal SBIR Sdtr program. The emphasis here is on entrepreneurial training, mentoring, and career development of the PI, PD meaning program director, and PI meaning principal investigator. So there's a special emphasis that we've kept apart from the normal SBIR Sdtr application on these components. So because of that, career development plan is required. That talks about the background of the applicant, the project fit, based on the application, and then the mentoring plan. In terms of eligibility, this would be postdocs, 2 to 7 years training post Ph.D., or early stage investigators, and they don't have to be doctoral students or people with a Ph.D. with no prior R01 funding, with no more than 10 years post-terminal degree. So we're really looking for early career scientists that are thinking about taking the plunge at a startup. Underrepresented minorities are strongly encouraged to apply, and so are the individuals with disabilities. Again, here the funding is for up to 5 years. So total funding for phase 1 is $400,000, and for a fast track, that's $2 million. We expect up to 2 years for a phase 1 and up to 3 years for the phase 2 of the fast track. So that's why between the two of them, you can have it up to 5 years. The review criteria is very similar to that of a normal SBIR. So significance, whether the product addresses an important problem and has a commercial potential, if there's a market for the proposed product, investigator, whether the designs and methods are well developed and appropriate, are problems addressed, innovation, approach, environment, and finally, a very important review criteria for SBIRs is the commercialization. whether there is a nice commercialization aspect, whether the company's business strategy has a high potential for success as well as commercialization. And on top of all of these requirements, like I said earlier, one key additional requirement is a career development plan. This can be a maximum of 3 pages, wherein the applicant, the PI, the early career scientist will talk about their background in terms of entrepreneurship and their interests, whether the project is a good fit considering their background, and whether entrepreneurial training and career, what kind of entrepreneurial training and career development plan activities will be pursued. So, courses, internships, mentoring plans, mentorship, and things like that. And this obviously requires a letter of support from a mentor. Unlike a KO1, you do not need to have 2 mentors. Single mentor with entrepreneurial background is sufficient. And like I said earlier, one of the review criteria additionally here is entrepreneurial development. So how likely is that the career development plan, how likely is the career development plan will enable the PDPI to gain substantial product development knowledge and relevant entrepreneurial training, and whether there's enough in terms of mentorship, entrepreneurship training program, and facilities to ensure proper training of the PDPI. And finally, whether the mentor has a strong track record of mentorship. So these 3 are the additional review criteria. So clearly, a clear difference from a normal SBIR award here is that we're targeting early career scientists that have not had a lot of experience writing SBIR grants, that have not worked in a startup for a very long periods of time, that are early career, and that there is a specific mentoring plan involved. So with that, I thank you very much. I hope I've been able to give you a really broad, high-level overview of the goals of the REDI program, and I hope you'll consider applying for these funding opportunities. Since this is a new program, we're really enthusiastic about applications from you, some of the creative ones too. We've purposefully kept the funding opportunity broad so that we can crowdsource the best ideas and programs from you guys. And if you would like to discuss your individual projects, I'm available via Calendly. So I think someone will put the Calendly link in the chat. With that, I thank you very much for sticking around.
Thank you, Saroj. So the next is we want to talk about some of our upcoming events. As we mentioned, we are very committed to supporting diverse applicants as well as having diverse products and innovations into the market. And so NIA is undertaking a number of efforts like the ones you've heard today. We also have some focused events that will help support entrepreneurship development. On August 17th, we'll have an entrepreneurship workshop focused on value propositions and differentiation, really helping you to think through how do you define that value proposition for your product, your company, and create some sort of differentiation in the marketplace. We will also have a panel discussion with NIH Bio Summer Series. It will be focused on improving diversity in biotech by leveraging SBIR and Sdtr opportunities. That will be an opportunity to hear from multiple NIH institutes on SBIR, as well as to hear from the bio team on initiatives that are being put together to support a more diverse workplace, as well as more diversity in biotech broadly. We do encourage you to register for these events, and we have included those links in chat. And we have received many questions, so we'll be moving to that shortly. Next slide, please. So if you have a question, you haven't submitted one yet, please go ahead and click on the Q&A icon from your menu bar, and you can go ahead and enter your question. You can also look at all the things that we've talked through in chat. You feel free to download the chat, and we'll also be sending some of these links and the presentation following. So now we'll get into the question and answer period. And thank you, Saroj, for agreeing to make yourself available also through Calendly. I do encourage you to go ahead and set up a one-on-one meeting if you're interested in learning more about this program, as well as if you have additional questions. And Saroj has his email here in addition to the Calendly link. Please, if you're looking to schedule a meeting, go ahead and do the Calendly link. If you have a general question feel free to also email him as well at saroj.regmi@nih.gov. With that, we'll get into our questions. Saroj, we have a couple of general questions, and then we'll move into eligibility specific, because we're getting a number of those as well. So how can a researcher really leverage these funding opportunities to grow their academic and research career and portfolio?
So yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I really think, there are a lot of opportunities that are available from the NIH. So for, specific academic career, there are a lot of training grants and academic grants that are available via NIA. And, I urge you to, contact the training office at the NIA for these. And if you're interested in, learning about entrepreneurship while you pursue an academic career, I think K01 might be the relevant opportunity for you. Because you are participating in your research, but at the same time you're learning about entrepreneurship with the K01 award.
Thank you. Are these new programs?
Yes. So these are new. This is the first time we're doing this. This is the first year. So that's why we're particularly excited about this program. And we hope that you will apply and be a part of this.
Thank you. And if you can also clarify, I believe we heard you say that to apply to these programs, it has to be related to aging research. Can you please clarify that and let participants know if there's anything similar at other institutes?
Yes. So this is specific for NIA, so National Institute on Aging. We're disease agnostic, so our mission is, relevant for aging as well as Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. So any disease that affects the elderly, as well as Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. And you can find out more about the specific mission either on our website or feel free to reach out to us as well. So far, other ICs have not signed on, so this is unique to the NIA.
Thank you. We do have some very early researchers here. One person says, I'm not currently eligible for the K01. They are less than 2 years as a postdoc, but do you anticipate this program being available next year?
We hope it will be available. We hope we can expand it. I mean, of course, it's all going to depend on the enthusiasm of this first year, since this is the first time we're doing it. But our plan is to be able to offer this in the future as well. And I will also urge you, if you're unable to take advantage of the K01, if there will be an R25 somewhere near you, I urge you to try it out and learn from the R25 and take these courses when available.
Thank you. And you mentioned that you have some broad spectrum opportunities for people to propose research. We're getting a question on, are there any priority topics that people can look at for inspiration to think about what to propose?
So, I mean, if you mean, priority areas in terms of subject areas, Alzheimer's disease and related dementia is definitely a priority for the NIA. Other than that, everything else, that is relevant to the mission of NIA is good.
Thank you. And I would also add that on our website, and we'll chat this link out, we do have some research priority areas just to get a general sense of some of the specific priorities for the National Institute on Aging as well. And the next question is, does the PI for REDI, SBIR, Sdtr have to be a member of the company?
Yes, they do. They, the way the SBR, Sdtr is set up is that they would be a member of the company and then they would apply from the startup.
Thank you. Am I able to apply for the SBIR to fund myself as a PI if I'm also the owner of a small business?
Yes, you can. If you've gotten that entrepreneurial bug and you've started your own company and you meet these other requirements, you're more than welcome to do that.
And we have some candidates who may be international, not US citizens or residents. Can you please explain whether someone can apply if they're an international candidate?
Yes, unfortunately, the way the small business program is set up, you would not be able to participate. I would assume that you would be able to participate in the R25 program. So if an institute launched an R25 program, you could be a participant. But for the SBIR program and the KO1, you would not be eligible.
Thank you. How is junior faculty defined?
So junior faculty in terms of, the KO1 is defined as someone within 10 years of, their terminal degree.
Okay. And if someone is already working in a postdoctoral associate in an NIH funded startup, can they still apply?
Yes, if it's a different project, if you have a different aim and if there's an emphasis on training the person, I think you would be eligible. I mean, you cannot, try to repurpose what, the award that you already have. But if it aligns with the mission of the NIA and if it's something different, then yes.
Great. For nonprofit accelerators focused on providing entrepreneurial training and experiences for medical device and software development, including the NIA areas, but also broader NIH initiatives, would they be eligible?
For the R25, yes. So they would be eligible for the R25 award. In fact, we're hoping to get a lot of interest from, both for-profit and non-profit, as well as educational institutions for the R25 in particular. For the SBIR award, unfortunately, it has to be a for-profit business in the US in order for you to qualify.
Thank you. And I'll give you a quick breath and just remind everyone to please fill out our feedback form and to join us on our community on LinkedIn and Twitter. And we do see that we have questions coming and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Can you help explain whether someone has to be a part of an institution to apply? Or so is it directly the institution applying, or can a candidate apply directly?
So it really depends on which funding opportunity. So, if you're a KO1, you would be affiliated with an institution. You would be a postdoc at an educational institution. If it is the R25, then, you would be a trainee somewhere, and then you would participate in the funded R25 program. And if it is the SBIR, then you would have to be affiliated with the startup. So, it could be your own startup or it could be somebody else's startup, but, you would have to have a small business that is registered in order for you to apply to the SBIR program. And this is a similar requirement for, any SBIR Sdtr application.
Thank you for talking that through. We had a number of questions on that. We appreciate that. So can a postdoc with more than 10 years experience apply?
Yes, unfortunately not. So, we're really thinking about, the early career options. But, if you are a postdoc with more than 10 years of experience, I strongly urge you to apply to an SBIR, normal SBIR Sdtr application. If you have your own small business, you're more than welcome to, pursue these opportunities.
And what do you consider a startup?
So, based on the Small Business Association's definition, I think it has to be a for-profit business with less than 200 employees. In reality, most of the companies that we fund, using using NIA funds is, anywhere between 2 to 20, people in a startup. So it's a small business.
And we have several programs we discussed today, and we're getting a few questions on really helping to decipher, what would be the best opportunity. So what are the key differences between an R01 and a KO1?
Yeah, wait, I realized I said 200. It should have been 500. My bad. Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. Someone who's trying to look at all these opportunities and figure out which one is the right one to apply to, can you cite some of the key differences between them?
Sure. I mean, I think, what might be useful is, they could, talk to me. We can, in some cases, it makes sense to just have a one-on-one and, learn about what's a better fit. But, I think it depends on, we think of REDI as a pipeline. So, the KO1, I think, is is somewhere in the middle. The first one is the R25. If you're an undergrad or grad student and there's an R25 funded program, then you participate in those, learn about entrepreneurship. And then there's the KO1, wherein, you'll be able to, continue doing your postdoc and, do research, but at the same time, learn about, entrepreneurship, take courses from business school, work at a startup, work with an accelerator, do an internship with a startup, any kinds of things like that. And then after you're done with that, then you could do the REDI SBIR, Sdtr, write your own SBIR grant and, work at a startup. So we think of it as like this, feeding the pipeline. And so, depending on which stage you are at and what your aims are, one program might be better than the others.
Thank you. Can you clarify for SBIR, what costs can the funding be applied to? Is it salary only?
For the SBIR, I don't want to go too much into the budget, but there's salary, there's equipment, research support, and things like that. And there's a lot of information that's available, in terms of what kind of budget you can use. There, we also have sample applications for some of these, so these might be helpful as well. Hopefully, someone can put that in the chat. Some of the sample applications that we've recently launched.
We certainly will. Thank you. For some of these, they're multi-year. What happens if the PI or the intended early career scientist moves away?
Yeah, I think those we will probably discuss on a case-by-case basis. This is the first time we're doing this, these awards. So, yeah, like I said, I think it'll probably be a case-by-case basis.
Wonderful. So the question is whether someone's considered a small business with government contracts if they have more than 100 employees and 15 years in business. Are they eligible for this program?
So, I urge you to check out the Small Business Association's definition of a small business. But based on what you've suggested, I think you would be. But it really depends on SBA's definition. So I urge you to check their website.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're now getting some general questions about navigating career paths. And I think some of these we can talk to briefly here, but it may require more one-on-one conversations as well. But some of the questions we're getting, to give you a sense, is how does one transition from academia to industry? And generally speaking, what training programs are available beyond these for early career researchers?
Yeah, I mean, I think you are correct, Monique. These are probably one-on-one questions, but in terms of transitioning from academia to industry, I think there are a lot of ways, but I can only speak of the ways for you to leverage these opportunities to make that transition. So like I alluded to earlier, you can use the R25 to learn about entrepreneurship. You can use KO1 to take courses and do internships. And then you can finally use SBIR awards to work at a startup. So you can facilitate that transition by leveraging REDI opportunity. And in terms of what was the other question? I think I forgot.
Sure. Training programs. I think you've covered that, as well as that transition. I think you've got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Sure. How do you think REDI can really have an impact on someone's future career prospects?
I think that's a tough one, and I think time will tell, hopefully. But we are hoping that being able to leverage these funds to make that transition and being able to also accelerate. We're hoping that REDI will accelerate spin outs and startups in using these funds. So that's our goal, but time will tell.
Great. And we've got some very specific questions with unique geographies and areas of interest. And for that, thank you for including your email. We would also encourage you to schedule a one-on-one meeting with Saroj, as well as if you have a quick question, you can also send it via email. Next is, can you please share some information about how this SBIR program is different from the standard SBIR program?
Excellent question. Yes, I think there is some confusion here, but there are a couple of differences. I mean, this would be similar to the SBIR Sdtr application. A couple of differences in that, first of all, is that you would need to have a career development plan. You would need to have a mentorship plan in place. So there needs to be enough opportunities for the PD, PI to learn about entrepreneurship, and they need to have a dedicated mentor in order for them to, to be supported. So, that would be one. The other is that, you're, because we've said that, you have to be within 10 years of your terminal degree, you would be, in effect, competing with other like-minded folks that are early career scientists. So you would not be, in that pool with veteran SBIR applicants. So, we think, being able to compete with other people that are just thinking about startups and also having that additional mentorship component will be the differentiator. And that, you'll be able to work in a startup while learning about entrepreneurship, and you learn by doing. I think, that would be key. And on top of that, this would be reviewed in-house at the NIA. So, this would be an NIA specific review.
Wonderful. You just answered the next question, is if there's a special panel for this one. Thank you, Saroj.
Sure.
So for the SBIR program, is the intention for the REDI to fund a self-enclosed research program, or can the funds be used to expand an existing SBIR study aligned with NIA's research areas of interest?
So it can. I think, again, I think it would be helpful, to have that conversation with me so that I understand, what you're thinking in terms of that. Because, in theory, yes, but I think it depends on, whether it's, SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research. So whether there's enough innovation and whether there's enough research, I think is key as you're thinking about the REDI SBIR as well.
Can you speak to the application process? Is it as many steps as the general programs, given that these are early career scientists? We're getting some questions about, helping to prepare grants. Do you have anything to share about the process, Saroj, that might help people who are new to NIA?
Yes, absolutely. So, the application process would be very similar to other applications that you would submit to the NIH. So, you would, look through guides and, the office. I mean, we are here to demystify the process for you. So, we're more than happy to, talk to you about, your specific aims. We're more than happy to, talk to you about certain resources that are available. We have webinars on a lot of these. And so, come talk to us.
Excellent. We've gotten a number of questions that fall in the bucket of really understanding investor relationships and entrepreneurship more broadly. So how do you start a company as an assistant professor? How do small businesses look growing? How do they grow their team? How do they raise funds from investors? I do want to flag, and we'll put the screen back up, that we do have a whole entrepreneurship workshop series dedicated to many of these questions. Where you get to go into breakout rooms with experts from everything from patents to building your board, et cetera. And we have some of our past recordings as well available on our website so that you can also view those. You can also contact us at the emails that we have on our contact page, and we'll put that screen back up shortly. But we really appreciate all the questions you all have shared about, how do you even start a company and take it and make it successful. The REDI programs are designed to help as well, but we do have other opportunities for you to continue to expand that entrepreneurship knowledge. Saroj, those are all the questions we have received so far. I will pause to see if any other questions come through, and while I'm doing that, just wanted to note that we are here for you. We do really encourage one-on-one opportunities. We do want you to also reach out to us and join our community on LinkedIn and Twitter, as well as fill out our feedback form. I did see one final question come in, and Saroj, if you want to make any closing remarks after responding. But someone is just asking again, are there resources for small businesses to connect with postdocs who are still interested in utilizing the REDI program? And I guess one other question that just came through, and I'll separate these out, Saroj, one by one, but can a current awardee apply? So the first one is on resources available, and the second is on a current awardees who want to take advantage of REDI.
Sure. So, in terms of resources available, we do have, a lot of resources that are available for small businesses on our website. And as far as connecting, small businesses connecting with postdocs and scientists, we don't have a direct way to do so, but I think hopefully with the R25 program and KO1s that there will be some postdocs that will also be seeking out these small businesses that are in their area. So hopefully we will be able to encourage this from both sides, in terms of the SBR award for small businesses to hire early career scientists, and in terms of these early career scientists to pursue KO1 by reaching out to small businesses and learning about doing internships. And REDI, this is it's the first year we're launching it. So once this grows, hopefully once this grows, we're able to offer things like that in the future.
Thank you, Saroj. And you'll see on your screen just a reminder on scheduling a one-on-one. You'll have time to ask more specific questions. I did also just want to note something you just said, Saroj. It's very important to apply to these kinds of programs so we can continue to help demonstrate the interest and need for them. NIA is committed to supporting diverse workforce and innovations, as well as supporting early career scientists. And so if we see that there's a good demand for this, that makes the case for continuing programs like these. So we do hope that you will apply, as well as if you could help us spread the word in your community, that would be greatly appreciated. There's one more question, Saroj, that came through if you have time,
Sure.
Asking about a general range of salary and time dedication for a REDI Ph.D. as a PI in the SBR program.
So, you would have to follow the NIH guidelines. They're available on the SF 424 in terms of the salary and the time dedication. And if you apply as in the SBIR, I think you'd have to be, the PI has to spend more than 51% of the effort. In the Sdtr, that's less. But we can talk the details on a one-on-one if you're interested. And I'd like to flag one thing. If there's no REDI Phase 2 award, there's only REDI Phase 1 and a fast track. And our idea is that you apply to a Phase 1. If you apply only for the REDI Phase 1, and if you're interested in Phase 2, that you will be able to compete in the normal SBR Phase 2 later on. So just wanted to flag that there's no REDI Phase 2. It's only Phase 1s and fast tracks.
Thank you. And with that, I hope that you'll join us at our upcoming events again on August 17th. We have an entrepreneurship workshop on value propositions and differentiation. And then we have our NIH Bio panel that's going to be focused on improving diversity in biotech, really getting more deep into some of the SBR and Sdtr questions that you all had. So you'll be able to really get and understand the mechanisms of these programs and what different institutes are offering. So we do hope that you'll sign up and join us for those events. I want to thank our team. Thank you, Dr. Regmi. Thank you, NIA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you for being here with us and exploring this new opportunity. We hope that we have been able to answer some of your questions, but you know that we're here for you. And so please, we do really mean that we're willing to answer your questions, schedule one-on-one meetings with you, and please become a part of our community again on LinkedIn and Twitter. And then a last plug, if you could open the link to the feedback form, we will be listening and looking at what you need, what additional events do we need to plan to help you be successful. Thank you for your time today, and good luck on your proposals.